This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Becoming the most valuable sports franchise in the world doesn't happen without risk. A man who's willing to bet it all, and the players ready to make their own luck. America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, is the story of the 1990s Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones's impact on NFL history. Featuring interviews with iconic 90s players and more. Watch America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, streaming now only on Netflix.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And ready to drink cocktails. High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, Pickle Bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Great to be joined by an old friend, David Eckert. David, welcome back. It is great to hear you again, and appreciate all the great work you did up here for years.
I'm thrilled to be on, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. David, I've got to start. Let's get to Texas and Ohio State. Texas did a little bit more in the transfer portal. For the most part, I looked at last year's team because I knew Penn State could possibly play them. And I felt there was pretty much a developmental program with a few select transfers. It looks like they dipped in a little bit more this year. Why did Steve Sarkisian do that?
Yeah, I think the majority of their additions came at one position, and that's defensive line.
Yes.
Right? I think five of their 11 transfers are interior defensive linemen. They had a need there for two seasons in a row. They put their 2 starting defensive tackles into the NFL. So they just kind of felt like they had to restock the cupboard there. And, for the rest of the depth chart, I think they kind of treat it a little bit like Penn State does, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Let's where are the needs, right? They needed a tight end. I think their tight end room had 29 combined snaps of collegiate experience before they went and got Jack Andrews. He's going to start for them. They needed a kicker because their kicker left, So it's not like they're out here, doing the Lane Kiffin thing where that's just going to be their main method for acquiring players. But they're smart with it, and when they do go get somebody, they tend to get top of the line guys, and I think they did that this offseason.
Yeah, again, like Penn State and Texas, very much the same. Very selective in the portal, but when they have needs, they go for it. Everyone wants to ask about Arch Manning. Arch Manning will not be able to do this himself.
Right.
What are some of the keys around him, David, that gives him a chance at success?
Yeah. For me, the biggest question is they're replacing 4 offensive linemen, 3 of whom are in the NFL right now. So
yes.
How's the offensive line going to hold up? At wide receiver, they have the guy who is kind of projected to be that number 1 guy is Ryan Wingo, who flashed as a freshman last year. They have DeAndre Moore, who is kind of like a blocking security blanket type wide receiver. And then a guy who Steve Sarkisian's really high on is Parker Livingstone, just a big guy who's going to be able to get some of those jump ball, deep balls that Arch likes to throw. And then they're really supported, I think, by one of the, I think Penn State has the best backfield in the country, but, Texas is probably a candidate for runner-up. Trey Wisner was a 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC last year. He comes back. They're getting C.J. Baxter back after, he had a really good freshman year, lost his sophomore season to a knee injury. He's coming back. So, I think their running game is going to be really important for them.
What does Manning's mobility mean to the offense, especially compared to what they have with Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything. Especially, I think, in the red zone, which has been a real problem for them last year.
Yes.
It really just the last couple of years. You look at how their season died last year. They had 2nd and 1 in the semifinals of the college football playoff from the goal line to go, try to tie the game in the fourth quarter. They lost 7 yards on a pitch, and they ended up turning the ball over. So, when you have a quarterback who's mobile in the red zone, that changes the calculus, right? You have to account for him. You're defending against 11 instead of 10. So I think that's going to be really important. And just, generally the other things that mobile quarterbacks do. They sometimes make you keep a guy in spy instead of rushing or sending him on coverage, They extend plays, which, depending on how this offensive line works out, might be important. So I don't think Arch wants to, be out there. I don't think that's going to be the main way that he succeeds. I think they want to protect him a little bit.
Yes.
But certainly that's going to be an asset for them, especially in the red zone.
Right, and Jack Ham and I have talked about this all the time. When you have a mobile quarterback, especially in the red zone, you have to account for him. It's as simple as that. Defensively, I thought for the most part, Texas played really, really good defense last year. What does Steve Sarkisian have back on that side of the ball that can be a difference maker, especially going on the road like this at Ohio State?
Yeah, I think they've got probably 2 of the 5 best defensive players in college football. Yeah. Anthony Hill, I think, is probably the best linebacker in the country. Yeah. And then on the edge, they've got Colin Simmons, who, as a true freshman last year, he had a better pressure rate than 7 of the 8 guys who were picked in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft last year. So he's just a freak. He's going to play more this year. I think he's just going to be outstanding. And then in the secondary, they returned Michael Taft, who's kind of their really quarterback. That's really important. So I think they're, again, positioned to just be elite on the defensive side of the ball.
How have the other players handled being asked about Arch Manning all the time? Look, he's a great teammate. They're great teammates to him. But you know how it goes. Everybody keeps asking about him all the time. How have they handled it?
I think they've handled it well, and I think that's because Arch makes it clear to them and frankly to us that, this is annoying to him.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
He doesn't want to put up with it, and so I think when that's what you portray outwardly to your teammates, it's easier for them to take, right? Because they know that you're not reveling in all this attention. They know that you're not trying to take the spotlight away from them. It's just kind of something that he's had to deal with since he was in high school. And he's gotten really good at dealing with it. And, everybody's really said all of the right things so far.
What about going into Ohio State? Look, they may be, quote, the defending national champion, but it's a different team in so many ways than last year. What's the thought process about going into the shoe?
Yeah, you said it, right? It's just, and really it's 2 different teams. Texas couldn't be more different either. So,
right.
I think Texas always wants to play They're kind of the anti-James Franklin. They want to play big-time non-conference games. They're always going to have one on their schedule. And, I think that there's an expectation that at the University of Texas, this is kind of just what you go do, and it's a little bit regular. Whether or not they expect to win, I couldn't tell you, but I do think that it's just kind of a, hey, this is normal. This is what the football team at the University of Texas does. That's how they're trying to pitch it to themselves. We'll see if it kind of pays off for them.
With that said, the SEC will go to 9 conference games next year, and they're still going to be required to play a Power 4 among the 3 non-cons. I would assume that Texas was one of those that was gung-ho behind that.
Yeah, because Texas is going to do it anyway, you know? So if Texas wanted the 9 games because they play a neutral site game with Oklahoma every year. And so if you can take the neutral site game, you can evenly have 4 home games and 4 road games every year instead of sometimes having 3 and 4,
right,
depending on where that game's aligned. But and then keeping that Power 5 component to the non-conference schedule, I think Texas is going to go play those games anyway. So if you're Chris Del Conte, the athletic director here, certainly I think you'd push to keep that requirement because you kind of want your peers on the same level.
Look, this has been an interesting period of 10 years. Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, and even early with Steve Sarkisian. How does the fan base? How much more do you think the fan base appreciates the winning part of it because there's a period of time where the wins weren't as common?
I think you nailed it. I think they really do. I saw somebody post the other day. It was like, I can't believe that we're at the point where if Texas has a 9-win season, I'm going to be disappointed. Right. Because the wilderness was so thick. I remember, covering Penn State games, sitting there in the press box laughing at them losing to Maryland.
Right. Back to back. Yeah. They lost them twice.
Yeah. Yep. Laughing at them losing to Kansas. It just they were, for lack of a better word, kind of an embarrassment. And certainly they are the polar opposite of that now. And having known what it feels like to be down in those depths, I do think, they really appreciate Steve Sarkisian and what he's been able to do here.
Has it been, I think you get 4,000 tickets for a game like this. Has this been a hot ticket for people to try to get a hold of in Austin to go up to Columbus?
Yeah, I think so. And, it's doing the typical, it's going to just be hundreds of dollars, just get in the gate type of thing. So I think it's safe to say that they're excited about this one.
They should be. It's fun. What a great opener. Right out of the gate. I think it may have almost everybody's interest. All right. Even Corso's going to be there for one final time. All right. David, it was an absolute pleasure. And again, I think Penn State fans really appreciate all the great work that you did for years here. And it's great to have you back on the show.
Appreciate you, Steve.
Thank you. David Eckert, great to have him back on the show, covering Texas Longhorn football. They will take on Ohio State Saturday, big noon kickoff, which is extremely popular with fans. No. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Nothing. Nada. Zilch. That's what you'll pay this summer to drive a brand new Kia from Sunbury Motors Kia.
Wanna see you in a Kia. Sunbury Motors Kia.
That's right, get 0% APR financing for 48 months on 2025 Kia Sportages, Kia's most popular model. Plus, get 0.9% APR financing for 48 months on 2025 all-wheel drive Kia Sportage hybrids. They get up to 38 mpg. SMC also has 1.9% APR financing for 48 months on the all-wheel drive, brand new, refresh-styled 2026 Kia Sportage LX, starting at just over $32,000. Remember, every new Kia comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Nothing, nada, zilch, with as low as 0% APR financing at Sunbury Motors Kia on the Strip at Hummel's Wharf and at sunburymotorskia.com.
New season, new chaos in college football.
Let's go! Big stage, big opportunity.
This Labor Day weekend, the wildness lives on ABC, ESPN, and the all-new ESPN app.
What a way to start!
Featuring top 10 teams like Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, and LSU, and Bill Belichick's debut at North Carolina.
It's so special when these teams collide.
Don't miss a lineup filled with electric matchups.
Welcome back to college football.
Kickoff week presented by Modelo. Labor Day weekend on ESPN and ABC. Also available to stream on the all-new ESPN app.